Okay, looks like we're live. Let's get the camera straight over here. All right, I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Lately, we've been talking a lot about doubts, and I want to talk about one specific part of that, which is learning backwards. I've talked about this before on the channel, I think maybe a few years ago, but it's a good time to bring it up again because something interesting happened to me yesterday. So let me tell you a quick story about that, and then we'll get into the lesson. Make sure this is working over here. Okay, we got the... All right, we are working. All right, let me erase this. Hopefully everybody is enjoying their day. All right. Well, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but let's see if I can say that though. Gualaid Muhammad. I think I could say Muhammad. I think my favorite teacher. Glad to hear it. Mr. Learner, hello, sir. How are you doing? Silvana says hello from Brazil. Nice to see you there. What Tsubasa in the house. Nice to see everybody out there today. I don't think it's a holiday in Japan, and Olympia is back. All right, we got a nice crew of people here today. Click the like button if you would, just to tell other people, well, YouTube will tell other people, hey, we should watch this. Yasin, nice to see you there. So what we're going to talk about, actually, this is a story that happened to me. It's kind of a long, well, it's not really a long story, but it's been happening over a long period of time, but I finally found out something about it yesterday. So just to give you a little bit of preview. Oh no, it's 3 in the morning. So I was, oh, nice to see you, Annette Lewis, nice to see you there. So I was, actually, I was at a Starbucks yesterday here in Nagasaki, Japan, and I asked for an affogato. I think I'm going to write this down. It's an Italian word, I'm guessing. If there are any Italians or maybe some Spanish speakers or anybody knows Italian, I think that's how you write it, affogato, if I can pronounce that correctly. So in the Japanese spelling of this, because it's not a Japanese word, it's spelled in katakana, which I'm not going to take time to write down. But the more important part is the last sound of the katakana is to, so affogato. But every time I order this at different Starbucks, it doesn't matter where I go to, they will always say affogato. If you listen carefully, it sounds like do. And so yesterday, I was asking some of the staff. I said, "Why do you guys say affogato when it's affogato?" That's how it's written on the paper. It's on the menu. It's everywhere in the restaurant. But everyone says affogato. It's like pretty clear they're saying affogato instead of affogato. And so I had a nice conversation with the staff at Starbucks about how to pronounce this word. And I just said, oh, it's really interesting because usually Japanese are very specific, like especially in a corporate, like a business setting like this, if it's the name of a thing like affogato. But they all pronounced it affogato. And so they started talking about that, why they pronounce it that way. And we didn't really have a long conversation. I can't bother them for too long there. But in general, it's easier to pronounce this word as affogato than affogato. It takes a little bit of extra energy and effort to add the to sound rather than the do. That's why we have in English, lots of pronunciation will be kind of, we get like the flap sound, the flap D. It's like, like got to. Well, that's some bad writing right there. So got to, like I have got to do something, becomes written as gotta, so shortened like this, but really the pronunciation in American English, it's a little bit different in British pronunciation. They will use British is weird because they will eliminate some sounds but add other sounds. It's just part of how the language over there is. But in American English, gotta, it sounds more like a D sound. So we don't say gotta, we say gotta. And it's the same thing with this affogato. Like most people would not say affogato, they would say affogato, just because it's easier and faster to say. So the title of this video is talking about learning English backwards in the same way that I learn Japanese backwards. And let me just make this very clear, very simple. Usually what happens when people are learning a language, especially as an adult, is they will begin with writing. So they will start with writing and then move forward to maybe hearing some sounds or some kind of listening and maybe finally speaking at the end. But what I'm recommending is that you actually do the opposite of that, which is beginning more with the real language that natives use, and this is how children also learn the language. So I don't really like to confuse people or explain too much about learning like a child, but there are certain things you can take from how children learn, and this is one of those things. So when children are first learning the language, they spend a lot of time listening because they can't read or write yet. So obviously they're getting the opposite kind of pronunciation. And so it's very surprising for many children as they get older and they start learning to read and write that, we don't actually, we don't say gotta, like children might write this as like I gotta do something. So they're beginning from the end with how people actually pronounce the word, or this two words in this case. So I have got to becomes I gotta. So I gotta do something. So they're beginning here, and then they're actually working backwards to the writing. So you don't have to take everything from how children learn the language, but this is one of those things that really is important to do. So as you're learning a lot more of the native English, the doubts that a lot of people have usually come because they start learning this way and then move forward instead of learning backwards and moving back by understanding the sound of the language first and then hearing how it's written. So it is possible to do both, but the tricky thing is if you spend a lot of time beginning with reading and writing and maybe just hearing some slow, easy, clear teachers, it's going to be much more difficult for you when you try to listen to much more advanced, everyday conversational speech. So the first question, or one of the three most common questions I get, is why can I understand English teachers but not understand natives? And this is the problem. That's the reason for that. Excuse me. So if you've been learning like this in school, then right now you should be taking this and trying to reverse the process, going back from the regular way that people are speaking and working backwards from that. So it's okay. You don't have to spend a lot of time just listening to native content, but you should be getting native content plus making sure you understand what people are saying. The point is incorporating or adding the actual native content into what you're learning. Okay? So I'll see if anybody has any questions about that. But the basic idea, again, is that children develop a good sense of listening first, and that's one thing that you should be adding to the way you learn, rather than trying to begin with reading and writing, which is the opposite of what people typically do. All right. Let's see here if anybody has any questions or comments. But look at that. Nice to see everybody there. I'm going to try to go through this very quickly. Tom Azezo and Susan there. Japanese is fun to learn. Yeah, Japanese, it's an interesting language for sure. Actually, I'm glad I started with English and went to Japanese because English feels a bit more confusing to me. Starting with Japanese first, I suppose, like learning the Japanese characters is really much more difficult than learning the English because there's so many more written Japanese characters, but the language is actually quite logical and easy to understand. Nice to see you there, Lewis. Yes, and said, I have watched all live videos approximately 240 hours. Oh my goodness. I'm a member of the Blueprint set, so I know Tom and Nils, but they don't know me. I guess know all, constantly follower. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting to see. I'm always happy to have people. I like to see people who want to continue learning. And I try not to give you the same content again and again. I'm trying to make sure people understand the foundation of things, and I often express that in different ways, but it's taken me a long time just to explain this process to people. But the general idea is that you want to be destroying any doubt. It's really the doubts that stop you from speaking. So most of the reasons that people have when they struggle to speak, or if they don't have any speaking chances, they're worried about not being able to speak when they do have the opportunity. So it doesn't matter whether you have chances to speak or not. Most people are not able to speak because they have some kind of doubt. That was kind of a long, confusing explanation. But the point is that doubt is the real thing that stops people from speaking. So instead of trying to force yourself to speak, it's much easier if you just eliminate the doubt first. And so that's what, this is one technique you can use to do that. So when you're, like a lot of people, they spend time only listening to English teachers, like they're only watching maybe videos like this, instead of also getting other content that helps you really prepare for lots of native speech. So it could be hearing the real content people use in everyday life, or it could be movies or real conversations between people, whatever it is. But you need to make sure you understand that, and then you still understand exactly what people are saying. Okay, so if you only get one of those things, like you're just only learning the reading or writing in your English classes, but you still have trouble understanding natives, then this is something you should be doing. You should be listening to much more native content, but just make sure you do it systematically. It's not just listening to random content. You need to be listening to lots of different things related to the same thing that really prepare you to understand that in real life. All right. Let's see if any other questions. I knew this would be like it's a pretty short video, so I'll leave the rest of this time for you guys. Look at that, I did that one really quick. All right, or if maybe like Tom and Louis, you guys are just speaking to each other over there, you guys can enjoy that. Remember, you're never late for live videos because you can just watch them anytime. So hopefully you guys can just go back. If you have any questions, you can post those in the comments below, but you can always watch these. I make them available anytime, so you don't need to stay up and watch it at 3 in the morning or whenever you're watching it. Let's see, El Max says, I'm learning English I've spent a lot of time trying to improve my pronunciation, but I don't get the sounds that are not in my native language. Yeah, so that's a common issue, like the Japanese example here. If a sound is not in Japanese, it's much more difficult for people to produce it. But if you listen to lots of different examples of natives producing sounds, and you can focus on not only the individual sounds, but also hearing how they blend together, then you can understand how to make these sounds better. So I don't know what to do because I can't make these sounds. I've done lots of videos about pronunciation. I guess this video is kind of about pronunciation, but I often talk about the basic idea is called sound transitioning. So to transition means to move from one thing to the next. I'm going to draw a little musical scale here for people, just so you understand this. So this is what I'm going to draw this badly, so don't get angry at me. I'm going to draw this as this is supposed to be a music note, or not a music note, but the treble clef over here, and we've got some music notes over here. Look at that, some beautiful music. So if I want to learn how to sing and I have trouble producing certain notes, then, like, let's say my music teacher, they say, okay, I want you to sing this note. And I can't read music, so I don't know what this note is. I'm sure somebody could tell me what this is, but let's just say, imagine this note is ding, like E, whatever. And I don't know if that's correct or not. It's not really the point. But so let's say this note is D, E, like that sound. And the teacher then says, okay, try to make like B, like a different note up there. It's more difficult for me to try to hit specific notes just by copying the teacher, but what is easier for me to do is to try to transition my voice like D, like that. I could move up and down by just making slight adjustments in how I make the sound to go up and down until I hit that pitch. So if I hear someone like B, and then I'm like B, okay, like that sounds like it's correct. So the same kind of thing there, that's for matching the pitch. And you can do this same thing for like if you're trying to figure out how to make a sound, it's just moving your mouth in different ways until you get it. Like let's say I'm trying to learn some language that has, I don't know, like clicks, like some kind of sound like that is not in English usually. I could practice just trying to make a sound that's similar to that and moving my mouth or my tongue or whatever until I get that sound. So it's the same thing you can do if you're kind of close to something, then you can transition to it just by moving your mouth in slightly different ways until you hit that sound. So it could be the pitch, or it could be the just the way you're moving your mouth, because that's all it is. I mean, you could be born in Italy and then learn how to speak Italian and how to pronounce it just because you're listening to lots of other people and you develop a way of doing that by watching them speak. So if I can do that, and then like if I go to Russia and I'm trying to learn how to speak Russian and I start changing the way I speak a little bit, I could mimic that sound pretty quickly just because I'm using sound transitioning in this way. So if you're trying to figure out how to sound more like a native, especially if you have sounds that are not in your language, this is what I recommend you do. So pick a sound that's close, or whatever the particular letter sound. If it's like a k or a ch, I'm moving my mouth around until I can hit that way of producing it, but it's a series of steps, like ooh, like that. So rather than trying to hit a specific sound, focus on something related to that, if something is close enough, and then try moving your mouth or the pitch of your voice in a slightly different way until you get to whatever the particular sound you're trying to make. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So in general, pronunciation is basically two things. You've got the individual sounds, and then you've also got listening to the way words blend when you hear them normally spoken, like gotta. So I gotta do something, I have to go do something, I gotta do something like that. So you'll learn both of those things from getting lots of examples from native speakers, so spending more time with natives. And then also, again, this sound transitioning idea. People are in the comments are talking about Frederick. You can click on the link in the description to get that. So that will take you through this same process as well, going through all the different sounds of English and showing you how to blend them the same way natives would blend them as well. So click on the link in the description if you'd like to do that. But that's really everything you need if you want to become able to pronounce certain things that you don't have in your language. Also, if you enjoy the app and you have not reviewed it yet, please, I would love you to go to the App Store and leave a review for Frederick. I would really appreciate that. All right, let's see. Present perfect, more present perfect, present perfect, more perfect this way. Lewis, let me know if you have a question about that, because we do have in Fluent for Life, we have sections on that. Marceliana, nice to see you there. All right. Well, yes, Yasin was able to learn the R sound. Thanks to that. Glad to hear it. Yes, if you enjoy the app, please do leave a review on the App Store. Let's see. Grow Up With Me says, do you make live chat every day? No, we do not. But remember, you don't have to spend a lot of your time doing live chat with people. You just have to eliminate the doubts. I think somebody asked a question about that. But yes, usually like once or twice a week, I will try to do that. And Lewis says, Drew draws. You would say Drew draws with an S there. Drew draws very well. Yes, my drawing is okay. My problem is I don't want to spend a lot of time drawing pictures here because people don't really care as long as they get the idea. So Semin says, how can I improve my pronunciation and accent? So I just explained that. Hopefully that makes sense. Jimmy Iglesias says, I don't understand what you mean about avoiding doubt in order to improve speaking, out to improve fluency, out improve speaking. I don't know. Maybe you made a typo in there. But let me talk about doubt very quickly. I talked about this idea in... maybe it was my previous video or the one before that. But this is the basic idea for people developing fluency and the reason people are looking for help and the reason I help people. So I'm going to explain all this as simply as I can to make sure all the new people or anyone that still doesn't understand this idea, I really want to make sure you do, because it really can change your life if you understand this. Okay, so I'm gonna just lay this out very simply. So number one, so you want to speak fluently. So that's the goal. You want to speak fluently. Everybody's on the same page. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. If you are here watching these videos, this is probably the reason. So you want to improve your fluency. You want to understand English better. You want to communicate better for your life, impressing people, getting better jobs, or just having good conversations with the people already in your life. All right. All right. So number one, you want to become a fluent English speaker. Number two, but here's the problem. Okay. But the problem is you can't speak because, like, for these couple of reasons. So the problem is you can't, or speaking is just difficult in general because, and I'm going to put 4 basic buckets of people here. So these are the kinds of people, or usually people have one of these 4 problems, and this is what stops them from speaking. So you are introverted or shy. So it feels unnatural and uncomfortable to speak, maybe even in your native language. Okay. The next reason why people have trouble speaking is because they think, or they're waiting to speak, they don't know enough. They don't know enough English. They don't know enough English. The basic idea here is that people are waiting to know more words. Like, they already know this many words, but they're still waiting until they know a few more to really feel confident about speaking. Okay? Next is they actually have problems with communication. So we'll just say communication. So communication problems, and this is everything that could go wrong when you try to speak. So you forget words, you get stuck, you have to translate in your head when you speak. Maybe you're unsure about grammar or pronunciation or whatever. All of these things actually stop you from speaking. So even if you have speaking opportunities, you could be living with natives, you could be married to natives, you could be having conversations with people every day, but still not feel confident and fluent. All right. So you're still having communication problems, and that's what stops you from speaking. And then the final thing is you have no chance to speak. Now, if you have any other reason why you might not be fluent, let me know. But for the 20 years I've been teaching, these are the 4 main ideas, or the 4 main groups of people, the kind of reasons that people will tell me why they can't speak. All right? But if you look at all of these things, the real problem with all of these is actually doubt. It's not the problem like people think it is. It's not like, oh, I'm shy or introverted, because even people who are shy or introverted, they can typically speak well when they're feeling safe and they're talking with close friends or whatever. They have no problem speaking. So the problem is not, just being shy or introverted, because those people can speak well when they have the right environment. And then the next group is the people who don't know enough. The real problem is they're not actually confident about the vocabulary they know. So instead of actually becoming confident about that vocabulary, they just continue to learn more. And this process is basically infinite. Like, you will just keep learning more and more, but never really knowing the vocabulary well enough to use it confidently. All right. So the real problem here is doubt. Again, the real problem here is doubt. You're uncertain about your vocabulary. And of course, that problem is obvious for the people who have communication problems in conversations. So anytime you're trying to speak, but your mind goes blank because you forget a word. Again, that's a doubt about how to say something. That's a doubt about what should I use in this situation, or a doubt about how do I connect my speech so that I can communicate fluently. Those are all doubts, all right? So this is kind of the most obvious to see for this group of people, the people who can have speaking opportunities. And for the people with no chance to speak, they're worried that if they don't speak enough, they will not be prepared when they do speak. Okay, I know that sounds a little bit weird, but like, let's say I'm living in a forest on a mountain and I have no one to talk with, then my worry is that I will not feel prepared if I do have someone to speak with. So I need to have some kind of speaking practice. And basically all of these people here, like, they're worried that they have to speak more or spend more time like learning more of the language in order to get fluent. But the real problem with all of these things is actually doubt. Okay? So again, the introverted person doesn't have a problem speaking when they feel confident, like they know somebody well and they can be talking with close friends. They don't have an issue with speaking. It's not a problem. So the real problem is more like feeling uncertain, or if you're unsafe, or you're just not sure about the people you're speaking with, so you feel a little bit like you're not able to communicate with people very well, so you just don't say anything. Now, if you think you don't know enough, the real problem is that you're just not confident about the vocabulary you already know. So how would learning more words help you? If you know 1,000 words already and you're not fluent in that vocabulary, why would you become fluent in 1,010 words or whatever? All right. And then, of course, the people with communication problems, their heads are just filled with doubt all the time. They're trying to speak, but a little voice in their head asks, am I saying things correctly? Am I pronouncing things correctly? Are people going to judge me or laugh at me about speaking? And then the people with no chance to speak, they're really just imagining, oh no, if I don't speak, then I won't be able to improve. All right. So these are the 4 reasons. If you have anything additional, if you think you can't speak because of some other reason, I'd love to hear it. But these are the main 4 that I've heard from people. All right. So when we look at this, like, the problem is not being introverted. It's not your personality or the number of vocabulary or like the size of vocabulary, the number of words you know. And it's not even about how many chances you speak. All right, like how many opportunities you get to speak. The real problem is you feel uncertain about speaking, so that when you're in a conversation, when you do have a speaking opportunity, you're unable to express yourself. You have doubt. You don't have certainty and confidence about what you're saying. So the real problem is doubt. All right, so you want to speak, but you have problems speaking because of these issues, and it's really doubt. So when you understand that doubt is the real problem, now we can change our whole way of thinking. So here, like, most people they kind of get stuck with these things because they think, so we're going to put this as 3 here. So you think you need to speak to develop. I'm writing very poorly over here, to develop. But even people who do speak, they still don't feel confident and fluent. So what's the real problem? It's doubt. So what you're trying to do here, if I can, I'm kind of running out of space over here. It's like you're over in this area and you want to become fluent. You want to get to this area over here. So right now you probably know a lot of English, you can understand what I'm saying, but you lack actual conversational fluency. And so how do you get from over here to over here? Now, people think they are stuck because they can't speak. It's like, look, I want to speak and I can't speak because of all these reasons over here. So instead, what we want to do is not force ourselves to speak, or if you obviously have no chances to speak, you can't do that anyway. But when you erase the doubts you have first, this builds a bridge very comfortably and easily so that you can get over here and finally feel comfortable speaking. So the point is not to like not speak. We want to get you to the point where you feel comfortable. So you should feel comfortable before you have a conversation. And so this is why I talk a lot about eliminating doubts, whatever doubts you have. It could be doubts about pronunciation, doubts about how to connect words, doubts about I don't know, like other people judging you because of how you speak. If you can eliminate all those doubts, and the nice thing is you can do that by yourself. So you can prepare for conversations, you can feel prepared for other conversations if you eliminate the doubt first. And so all the lessons I do, it's all trying to eliminate these different doubts. Each person will have different problems or different issues or different questions. But the point is, in general, it's just eliminating doubt. So let's say one person, they feel good about one sentence, but one word in that thing is, they're not sure if they're using that correctly, or maybe the pronunciation is wrong or something like that. That doubt will stop them from speaking. So if you can eliminate that doubt by feeling confident, if you know what you're going to say is correct before you speak, then you will start speaking. Okay? So the real problem is it's not these things that you think it is, because all of these assume that the only way to become fluent is to try to force yourself to speak. All right? So instead of forcing yourself to speak, eliminate the doubt first, and then you will feel a lot more confident when you do speak. So lots of people maybe even have no chances to speak, and that doesn't mean you can't improve. You can improve even if you have no chances to speak, just by learning more and understanding the language better, so you eliminate any doubts you have. And that way, when you do speak, you will feel much more confident and certain. All right, let me know if this idea doesn't make sense. But the point is, people think they have these issues here that are stopping them, but really, these are only stopping you if the only way to get fluent is speaking. But that's not the only way to get fluent. Let me draw this another way for you. I'll erase all of this. This is a good workout over here to try to erase all this blue. I want you to think about it. Let me see here. Let me use red. Can people see red if this is red enough? Okay. It's hard to erase too. All right. So let's imagine here we've got a mountain, and the flag is up here, and this is where you want to get. This is all the people having a party up here, talking, communicating fluently. That's where people want to get. Now, what people usually do is like they're taking this path up here, trying to get to fluency, and you see lots of people on this path. Lots of people they're dying, or they struggle, they stop. You see people falling over. People don't make it up the mountain all the way. Some people do. So you do see some people get to the top here, but it's really difficult for people to do that. It's very difficult for people to do that. So lots of people think, and this is really the typical way that people learn, where they're trying to understand like the kind of typical things that people do to learn. A lot of this is forcing yourself to speak, or if you just think, oh no, I don't have anyone to speak with, so what can I do? And those people are just kind of sitting down here, and maybe they're trying to watch some videos or something, but they don't really feel that when they speak that they will be confident. And that's the key right there. At the moment when you speak, do you feel confident? Like when I go to Starbucks, like I talked about at the beginning of this video, if I'm here in Japan, do I feel confident before I make my order? And I do. And so that's why I'm able to speak. And I don't just speak at Starbucks, but I can go around and talk with people anywhere here in Japan. And that's because like instead of doing this, I took this other path over here. So this is like what I call the strangest fluency secret, which is it's more like taking an escalator up to the top, if you can imagine it like this. So you got people just standing on here, like, it could be moms and dads or, professionals, anybody, students, that instead of trying to force yourself to do all of this difficult work over here, you just eliminate the doubt. All right. So instead of me trying to like get into a conversation and use something like that like I don't feel confident using, and people will tell you over here, like, yeah, just get out and use the language. Just try to force yourself to speak. Be confident. Now, it's easy to give that advice, and maybe some people do. They follow that, and they really try to force themselves to speak, but it's just much easier if you just get on the escalator over here, and the escalator will pull you all the way up automatically, even if you don't have people to practice speaking with, all right? So the key is not speaking, it's being prepared for when you do speak, all right? Let me draw this little like bridge thing again. So you're over here, and you got fluent communication over here. How do you get there? So like people think like, I gotta just like kind of jump over there and hopefully I make it. But most people do not. You know, they're struggling to communicate. They don't really understand the language very well. Instead, you build a bridge like this and you just walk across it, which is like this escalator right here. So you're able to understand the language better. You feel more confident before you speak. So when you do get into conversations, it's much easier to communicate with people. Okay? So this is the idea, like I call it doubt in general because it's the opposite of confidence. And excuse me, when you feel like you have like something you want to say, but you're not sure about how to say it, then you're going to be stuck. And this is what most people are stuck doing. So they're trying to do all these things over here, the kind of typical way to get fluent, and they're studying things, and I'm not really drawing this picture very well, but imagine just trying to go up a difficult mountain in this way when you are like, it does take some time to get to the top, but this is just a much easier way to do that. You get on the escalator and go up to the top and have someone guide you up there, or whether you're learning with me or anybody else or someone who can show you exactly how to eliminate the doubts you have. And as you eliminate those doubts, you feel much more confident about speaking. All right? So again, the point is not to like try to speak to get fluent. It's how can I eliminate my doubts and feel confident before I speak? Wouldn't you rather do that? Wouldn't you rather feel confident before you speak? So if I know I'm going to talk about something, you know, whatever that topic is, or I know I'm going to use this pronunciation or this grammar point or whatever, I should feel confident about using that before I speak. And if I can do that, then speaking is a lot easier to do. Okay? So it's not like, I'm not talking about replacing speaking, because the goal is speaking. We want to get you to the top here. We want to get you over here where you're actually enjoying communication. But I'm just saying, most people think this is the only way to get to the top. When, look, there's this other way over here. This is like the kind of working hard and doing a lot of things that probably aren't eliminating doubt. In fact, they're probably causing you more doubt. That's why you see lots of people, they get stuck at the bottom, or they make it up a little bit and they quit. Or, you know, even like you'll get a few people that really work hard and get up to the top. And, you know, I admire those people who went through all that effort. But me, I'm a little bit lazier. So I'd much rather if someone could just make, like if I'm trying to learn Japanese and someone could make the language very easy for me to understand and prepare me so that when I do get into conversations, I feel confident, I would much rather do that. Okay? I'm not trying to work hard just to work hard. I'm just trying to get up here. So if there's an easier way to do that, then you know that's what I would much rather do. If your goal is to have like a mountain climb, then that's a separate issue. Some people, you know, they like as a challenge or something if you want to do that. But for me, I'm just trying to have fun speaking with people. And that's what I do. That's the life I enjoy right now because I learned it this way. So I used to be like this. I was like, how do I do this? And this was me for 15 years, still trying to learn different languages. I would learn a little bit and then quit. And then learn a little bit more and then quit. And then go to a different language and then quit. And then I was just like, why is this so difficult? And the problem was I had all these doubts that stopped me from speaking. So I said, wait a minute, like, what if I go over here and just get on the escalator instead? And so that's where I started thinking about destroying doubt. And that's why I teach people this way instead. So you can find lots of lessons that will explain grammar to you and help you understand things. But for me, I want to help you understand things and use it so you feel no doubt. You should be having no doubt about what you're saying, and that's when you have complete confidence in your English. Okay? Let me know if this idea, I'm trying to explain this in different ways to make sure everybody gets the idea here. But hopefully this makes sense. So Jimmy Iglesias, let me know if this doesn't make sense. The point is, before you have a conversation, if you can feel confident because you have no doubt, when you do speak, you will feel confident. Okay? All right. Let's see. Oh, Drew, I recognize a musical talent in you. Says Annette. Yes, I sang when I was younger. I don't really sing anymore. My range is quite limited. Bridget, nice to see you there. LMAX or LMAXI RT says, thank you. I realize that I made a lot of mistakes in that last message. I'm not wearing my glasses. I will do that. Fortunately, I'm studying in an American school, so I'm listening to English daily. Yes, remember that when you're listening to English, be specific and focused and targeted with what you do. Don't just listen to a bunch of random content. Listen to a bunch of content about a specific thing you're interested in. Okay, so listen to a podcast about whatever it is you like, and then read something about it, and then watch a TV show about that same thing. That's all going to work together to develop your fluency. All right, yes, and can each word be studied via naturally varied review? Sometimes it's hard to find examples. Yes, actually, you could do that if you want to get that specific with trying to understand a specific word. Sometimes when we learn new vocabulary, we hear things really quickly and we can learn them very easily. Like when I went to, I told this story in, I think, the previous video or the one before that about going to the Japanese hardware store here and not knowing the word for a little piece of wood like this. So the English word for this is a shim, or you can call it a wedge. And you could spend more time getting naturally varied review. Like there are different ways you could do that. I could hear the word from different speakers. So just hearing different people pronounce the word slightly differently each time they're saying it. But I really want to make sure that the most important point is that I understand the word and I remember it. So it's the kind of naturally varied review that works better with trying to remember vocabulary is hearing it in different contexts and making sure you're still understanding the general meaning of the word. But the more contexts you hear it in, the more you develop a web, like a Spider-Man web, for remembering the vocabulary. So if I'm trying to remember a word, so the Japanese, what was that? Sabe. That was the Japanese word. I didn't know what it was, but I learned it, and now I remember the word from that conversation. But I would remember it even better if I watched some hardware shows or people building a house or fixing something or whatever, and people were using this vocabulary again and again. Then it would be automatic. I would understand. I would anticipate what people are going to say. I would think, oh, like I know, they're going to talk about sabe over here when they have, when they're talking about this particular item. So that's one way you could get naturally varied review. So it's not just about repeating the word. You can also find examples of specific vocabulary with Youglish. Youglish. So Youglish.com. If you type in a word there, YouTube, or it will find examples of that used in different videos. And so you can listen to different people. You can find naturally varied review that way as well. So we also obviously design Fluent for Life to give you this same kind of naturally varied review. So we don't want to just hear something one time. We want to hear it again and again in slightly different contexts from different speakers at different speeds. And all of that really prepares you to remember it and to understand that and feel confident about using that in your conversations. All right, let's see. We got some more comments here. If I missed anybody, let's see. And Tom says, Let's see. I think someone already, or maybe I think I skipped that one. All right. Let's see. So hopefully, yes, and that makes more sense for you. Also, doubt is between enough naturally varied review. Doubt. Enough naturally varied review. Is it true? It just depends on the specific doubt you have. Like, if I'm unsure about how to spell a word, like let's say I'm a native English speaker, but I don't know how to spell very well. And so I'm trying to write a word, like just an easy word, like, I don't know, like cookie. So if I write, I don't know how to spell cookie. So if I write cookie, is that how you spell cookie? I don't know. If I'm unsure about how to pronounce that or how to spell it, so spelling specifically in this case, but if I'm unsure about that, I'm not going to use the word, or I'm going to try to find another way to express something. The correct spelling of cookie is like this, cookie. But the point here is that if you're unsure about anything, like getting more examples of it is typically the way to help you understand that. So that's where naturally varied review works. So asparagus is another example. Maybe you don't know how to pronounce or spell something. The point is, until you remove that doubt, until you end that doubt, you will not feel confident using that thing. So that's for pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, anything else. It could be listening as well. So if I hear people, like I talked about at the beginning of this video about understanding natives when they speak. So if I only listen to slow, clear teachers, when I get into a real conversation with someone, if I'm not used to that pronunciation, if I'm not used to that speed or the way they speak, their accent and pronunciation, all of that, then I'm going to have a hard time expressing myself. Okay, so any of those things, doubt means like it's a very specific thing. You can measure that thing. Either you feel doubt or you do not. So hopefully that makes sense with how people get stuck. Well, he just got back to me here. Jimmy says, thank you so much. It was a great explanation. You mentioned situations I identify with and get me stuck. I'll explain, makes sense to me. I know now where I am on my English learning and why. Glad to hear it. Yes, fantastic. So a lot of people, they don't know that this path exists. And I didn't, for 15 years, I didn't know this path existed either. But once I found it, I said, oh, wow, look at that. Like, this is not the only way to become fluent. And I've got kind of, I don't know, I'm not drawing this very well, but there are lots of dead ends. Like, people might try something and it doesn't work or whatever. But the difference here is that it's a really difficult way to eliminate doubt. But this is the very easy way to eliminate doubt, because that's what the focus is. The focus is eliminating any doubt, like not just logically understanding grammar, but really knowing it very easily so you understand and can use that thing. And so it's just a representation of that, of how you can get fluent by focusing on eliminating doubt rather than just trying to force yourself to speak or to study more or thinking that, you know, maybe I can't do anything because I don't have anyone to practice with. All right. So again, like a really nice thing about this is you can do it by yourself. So you don't have to wait for a practice partner. I don't need to have someone to speak with. Just like right now, I can explain an idea, and even if you're not speaking back to me, you can still learn something from this video. Pretty interesting, right? So it's just you over here. You can watch this video anytime or any of my videos and learn more and eliminate more doubt. So most of these videos are kind of bigger picture videos about how to actually get fluent. So how do you eliminate the doubt about the fluency process itself? Okay. So yeah, so the Fluent for Life way, this is what we do. I'm certainly not like the only person who could do that. Like, lots of parents get their kids fluent every day without using the program. But it's for people who do want to get fluent as quickly as possible, and they don't want to spend a lot of time trying to learn things by themselves and teach themselves a language. That's what I'm doing right now in Japanese, because I don't have Fluent for Life in Japanese. So I have to teach myself the language, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like in the middle, I guess. So ideally, you have someone who can just guide you and show you exactly how to do it, which is what we do in Fluent for Life, but it certainly is possible to do it by yourself. It's just a lot more effort and takes way more time. but I'm glad you understand the process here. All right, so do let me know if anybody else doesn't. Let's see. I have the first 3 of those. Yeah, so other like the if you're talking about those specific like the specific problems that people have, you can also have a mix of those 3 things. Drew, how could the voice in the head be silenced so the doubt disappears? It's just to be confident so you know what something is. All you have to do is prove this to yourself with one thing. So you prove it to yourself with a word that you don't know, and then you understand it and you think, oh my God, now I understand what that means, and now I have no problem using it. So the doubt or the little voice in your head about that thing disappears. Then you just start doing that with more things, and as you destroy more doubt, communication becomes easier. All right? But the point is really to just prove to yourself, hey, if I can eliminate this doubt, then I can feel more confident speaking about this thing. And then you just do that with more things, and that's how you improve. That's the whole process. Let's see. Judgment for other people is the problem. Yeah, some people have, like, let's say your language ability is really low, but your confidence is naturally high. So some people are like that. Like, I will just get into a conversation and start talking with people, but I'm not actually speaking a language correctly. Some people don't care about that. They just have a lot of confidence. But most people, especially if you need confident, correct communication for your career, like you're working and you need to send correct emails. I can't just type some random letters and send that to people. I need to be correct. And so for those people, it's important to them to have confidence in what they're saying before they say it. You don't want to send an email and then think after that, oh no, was that correct? You want to be feeling confident as you're writing, so you can work quickly and you don't have any issues with communication. So Tom says, welcome Brazil. Feel free to ask a question. Yep. Amazing. That's so true. Glad to hear it. Sebastian says, you're really professional. Well, I don't know if that's sarcastic or not, but let's see. Starbucks. Yeah. And so that's another thing. Even Japanese people just say Starbucks for abbreviating that. So it gets shorter. Everything gets shorter, faster, and easier until you can't. You can't shorten it too much, but that's how we know how quickly. Like if I told a Japanese person like I'm going to today, they would say, what are you talking about? Like that, I made it too short. But if I say like staba ne, like you're going to like staba, okay, people understand what that is. I'm going to staba. All right, let's see. I would climb this mountain up if there were some sushi up there. I don't know why there would be sushi up there, but I suppose. All right, let's see. Paris says, you are amazing with the heart eyes. I love to see that. Olga says, morning teacher, I started to use your method in my work with my students. I like how it works. Awesome. Great. Also, the highest level you can give them, depending on their age, actually you really could use it with anyone, is the ability to discover the language for themselves. So that's why I created Frederick. So students can actually start playing with the language and discovering the language for themselves. And that makes it like even more memorable. The point is not really to be lazy about the learning process. It's just not to make it difficult for no reason. So you should just eliminate the doubt. And it's great when you as an individual, you're trying to solve a puzzle or you're watching a movie and you discover something yourself. You feel really great about that because you made the discovery. And when you discover something, that makes you feel a lot more confident and you remember that thing much more easily. So if you'd like to help your students even more, you should give them Frederick. You can click on the link in the description below this video to get that. Pardon me as I'm trying to read these comments at the same time. Arkham says, good morning, sir. I am Faisal from Sri Lanka. I do consider you such an exceptional lecturer on the surface of this earth to do the incredible practical approach of teaching the language. Wow, that's a lot of words, but thank you very much. It's my pleasure to help people learn. Again, I know what it's like to struggle. Language learning does not have to be this way if you just focus on doubt. You don't have to worry about, oh no, do I not get enough speaking opportunities? Remember, even me living in Japan, I don't spend a lot of my time speaking. But when I do speak, I feel comfortable and confident. All right, let's see. What is the path? Hopefully, Hussein was asking about that. So this is the typical way people get fluent, and a lot of people don't. They kind of die along the way, or they quit, or they stop learning, or whatever. Very few people get to the top. But on this path over here, it's very easy, because especially if you can have someone else eliminate the doubt for you, you can just get fluent as quickly as possible. But the key is to eliminate those doubts. All right, nice to see you there here. And what, konnichiwa? Says Yoshi Airando. Konnichiwa, nice to see you there, Yoshi. Or I guess that's the whole island, I guess. And El Maxi says, I will have my dinner. Bye. All right, well, enjoy your day. Dalia says, I'm sure it was a good behavior to teach us how to have more detail and some doubt to overtake, to improve the habits, to go there on top of the mountain. Yes. So this is, it's just an idea about how people normally get fluent. So the goal is up here to have fluent communication. This is the party up here where you get to enjoy speaking with people, have lots of fun, whether you're at work or whatever. You don't have any struggle communicating. And so you can try to take the more difficult route, or you can just eliminate your doubt over here, and that's going to get you fluent much faster. Abdul says, good morning, teacher. Could you give an advice? We would just say, could you give advice? Advice is uncountable for programmers who don't have much time to practice speaking. Yeah, so again, I mentioned this earlier in the video where people think they don't have much time to practice speaking, and like the I need to speak part is over here where I feel I don't have anyone to speak with, so there's nothing I can do. I have to struggle. So the point is, just spend your time eliminating your doubt by understanding the language better. You spend more time with the language, really, and you can feel it's a very specific, concrete, real, practical thing. If I feel doubt about a grammar point or a word or something, even in English, if I hear a word and I think, I recognize that word, but I don't feel confident using it, or I can't spell a word, that's a very specific doubt, and I can end that doubt. It's very easy to, once I know what the problem is, I eliminate that doubt, and then I feel confident using the word. That's how you grow your vocabulary, not just learning more, but actually being able to use those words actively in your communication. Okay? So yeah, whatever your specific doubts might be, that's the thing that actually gets you fluent. All right, so you can get fluent this way. You can try to force yourself to speak if you're not comfortable, or if you're maybe like this example here about not having anyone to speak with. The whole point is it's just much more difficult to get fluent over here because this way usually gives you more doubt. So you spend more time studying grammar, but you don't really understand it very well. You don't feel very confident using it. You're adding more doubt. The whole point of this process is to remove, as you remove doubt, you get closer to fluency. And it's a very practical thing. You know for sure you're improving because, oh look, now I don't have any doubt about that word. Now here's another word or new topic I want to learn about, and I don't feel confident about that, but here's how I can do it. So it's much easier when you have that specific focus rather than just trying to like learn more and more and more, but you don't really feel like you're moving closer to fluency. Until you eliminate the doubt, it's just much more difficult. All right, there are no doubts as long as we get knowledge and examples on your live streams. Yes, so again, the things I do on the live stream, these are generally about helping people understand how the process works, or just understanding or answering some questions people might have about vocabulary, pronunciation, but I try to give examples in every video or stories or something that talk about eliminating doubt. So when you feel that you really understand something, or you have no uncertainty, you feel sure, 100% confident about something, then you can use it, all right? So that's the thing to focus on. Just remember that the kinds of things I talk about, or even the way I speak, this is different from how people normally talk in regular conversations, all right? So it's similar, but it's just another way of, again, like, I can give you part of that in these videos, but to have that bridge, you need to get more examples of actual natives talking about the things you want to talk about, or using the grammar points or vocabulary that you have doubts about. All right, so the more you get not just me talking, but examples of other people doing things. This is what we do in Fluent for Life, but whether you're in that program or not, this is how you would get fluent. All right, and Yusuf says, hey, teacher, greetings from Morocco. For me, there's no doubt about my speaking, but the problem is I can't expand my vocabulary. I would probably question that. Like, if you think you feel confident about what you have already, there's no reason why you couldn't learn more, because how did you already feel confident about that vocabulary? What would stop you from moving up to another level? It's like if I can already do this piece, there's nothing different about adding what's different about these new words over here. But typically, the problem is people think that they know the vocabulary really well, but they usually do not. I've never met or spoken with someone that was like a really good speaker about some things and could not learn more. So most people, like, they're good speakers and they can easily integrate new vocabulary when they hear it because they're already fluent in this vocabulary. So I would go back. If you think you can't learn more, you're probably just trying to increase your vocabulary, but you still lack some kind of confidence or fluency in that. If you're already fluent in everything, you really feel confident, it should be easy to learn new information. And I really tell students not to try to push yourself to learn more unless you really feel confident about what you're using already. All right. Well, it looks like we got to the end of the video. Remember, if you want to get to the top of the mountain, it is possible to get fluent this way, the typical way people are learning the language. It's just more difficult, and often it creates more doubts, and the doubts are what really stop you when you speak. Okay. So even if you could be married to a native English speaker, you could have lots of speaking opportunities every day, but if you still feel nervous or unsure or hesitant about anything, that's what's going to stop you in that moment. So we call that the moment of truth, when you actually have to speak. How do you feel in that moment? If you feel unsure, then forcing yourself to speak is probably going to feel very difficult for you. But the good news is, instead of forcing yourself to speak, you can spend more time really understanding the language, getting more examples of the things that you really need to understand, not just from teachers, but also from natives who are just using the language naturally. The more you do that, the more you will naturally become fluent. I promise you, it works. It's the same way you got fluent in your native language, by understanding more examples of things over time. That's how it works. But it's guaranteed. The escalator will get you there if you get on it and stay on it. Pretty simple. All right, have a fantastic day. If you'd like to learn more about how to do this, this is what we do in Fluent for Life. And if you have any questions, you can click on, or you can just email us at info@englishanyone.com. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.